The next story, though, is the Rod Rosenstein situation. So let me know if the story's changed. It's already changed 20 times today. Let me know in the comments if it's changed since I've scheduled this cast. But first, they reported that he was resigning, Rod Rosenstein. Then they reported that he was being fired. It turns out that as of this moment, none of that is really true. Thursday, Trump is going to have a meeting with Rod Rosenstein, and they're going to figure it out whether he gets fired or resigned. We'll see. But the whole scoop is apparently, according to, sources that I've seen, I have to say that just to be safe so people don't come at me or whatever. The New York Times published a story that Rod Rosenstein, according to sources, the anonymous source thing they always do, was planning to wear a wire to record Trump, probably illegally, but don't quote me on that either, and was going to say, Trump is, we're going to try to invoke the 25th Amendment on Trump, saying he's mentally unfit for office. So it showed Rosenstein, according to this New York Times report and maybe others, Rosenstein was biased. So they're thinking about firing him, or he's thinking about resigning and being fired. We'll figure it out. Thursday, he's meeting with President Trump. None of that has come true as of this time. But it's just it's a weird situation overall. One, the media got it totally wrong, as they always do. Liberals are mad at the New York Times now. Anti-resistance, they're saying the New York Times is publishing fake stories. So I'm kind of enjoying it, to be honest, because one, I'm not a big fan of anonymous sourced stories. I don't care if they go Republican or Democrat. It's half of the reason that journalism's in such a terrible state in America, because nobody cares about the truth. They don't want to be right. They don't want to be safe and sure. They just want to be first. They want to be the first ones to get the story, so they get all the clicks. And they also want to push their political agenda over anything. I don't care if it goes Republican or Democrat. What's the truth? I don't have a big agenda. I just want to know what the truth is. But the anonymous stories, they've done thousands of them that have gone anti-Trump, and nobody on the left has cared. Liberals haven't cared. The resistance hasn't cared. Everybody just went along with it because it fit their political ideology. So now the one Times, the New York Times is a very, very left-leaning anti-Trump organization if you take a whole of all their stories. They do one anonymous source story, which to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not a fan of any anonymous source stories. I don't believe it until you show me proof. Show me proof and I'll believe it. Until then, it's just someone saying something. It's a rumor. It's TMZ. They've turned New York Times, Washington Post, and CNN into TMZ. It's a gossip National Enquirer magazine. But it's just funny to see the resistance. All of a sudden now they're mad at the New York Times for anonymous source stories, when the New York Times has done this thousands of times, but the one time it doesn't go in their favor, they're ready to burn the newspaper down. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, I don't want anyone to get hurt. I don't literally want a news organization to get burned down, especially New York Times, if they're trying to change their ways and do better reporting. But, it's just weird stuff to see them finally realize that anonymous source stories aren't the big scoop. We should see proof. Everyone should see proof for any story, and I don't think that we should continue doing this. But when it comes to Rosenstein, in my personal perspective, you could have yours, it's obvious that this whole thing is an absolute political hit job. I know people on the resistance don't want to hear that, just like they probably don't want to hear mostly anything I say. But from the start, I've told you 2 years ago, the whole foreign Russian collusion is a total myth. It's a hoax. It's a witch hunt. It's a total political operative agenda to try to remove Trump and put themselves back into power. Whether it be George Bush type Republicans, John McCain type Republicans, or Obama, Hillary type Democrats, they're all the same power structure that wasn't wanting Trump to win or any outsider to win. So they're having a fit and trying to do it by any means possible, get him out of there. And this is very obvious, especially when I tell you my next story, which is China. In the midst of, did Trump collude with Russia? Is Russia in our newspapers? China's buying out full-page ads in the biggest newspaper in Des Moines, Iowa, if I pronounce that correctly. So they don't care about foreign collusion, because I've been saying for years, Alex Jones has been saying for years, but they kicked him off all social media so people can't hear it, that China is a way bigger threat than Russia is, media-wise, economy-wise, basically like agenda-wise. They're absolutely way bigger of a threat, but no one really cares about foreign collusion. Neither does, in my personal perspective, Rosenstein or Mueller, until they show me otherwise. This was a fake, phony council put together by false means, misleading the FISA courts, doing their own little circle. You know, we put the story there, and then we use that story to gain access. We spy on Trump, we wiretap, we try to get him out for the 25th Amendment, we look at Manafort, we look at Cohen, we take it back to 10, 15 years of stuff that has nothing to do with Trump even, because Cohen didn't pay, or Manafort didn't pay his taxes 10, 15 years ago, and now he's going to jail. Has nothing to do with Russian and foreign collusion whatsoever. It's never been. It's been a media narrative, a way to not only control people's minds, make them go out in the street and march every couple months for something new that they have no idea why they're out there, get people to support that agenda, and also build a case. Instead of saying, you find me the crime, I'll put it as it should be in court. They say, give me the man, I'll find you the crime. We will dig around him, we will dig all around him and try to find the crime, try to build. It's totally illegal, it's totally ridiculous. It's a way to gain Justice Department power. If you don't win the election and you do all this stuff, now they have their own little council that no one wanted to go there, so that they can influence a law over the United States. It's absolutely a deep state, as people talk about. I don't trust Rosenstein, I don't trust Mueller. No one trusted Strzok, that's why he's not there. The whole thing from the whole jump was never to find Russian collusion no matter which way it falls. It was put there to try to take President Trump out of office so the Clintons, the Bushes, and all of these, political families that are tied together via agenda can regain control so Trump doesn't ruin everything they've been building for 20, 30 years. Because through the EU, through the UN, through their foreign war policy that General Wesley Clark under President Bush has admitted that they had this plan to infiltrate 7 countries in 7 years, and all this nefarious funding rebels and terrorist organizations thriving under our politicians. Nothing really added up. So they had a lot on the line. They had all these sort of fake agreements and fake councils and fake things to control and manipulate not only America but the rest of the world, including the media, which provides the storylines that people believe. So now that Trump is ruining their entire illusion, whether it be from NAFTA, from the Paris Climate Trade Agreement, UN, CNN, MSNBC, you name it, even New York Times and Washington Post, they're really running out of room. So all they can do is freak out and hysterically hyperventilate every single day and act like Trump's so terrible for wanting to talk to Rosenstein, and who knows which way, where, when, why, what next week is going to be some sort of other Looney Tune. Well, he's separating kids at the border because he doesn't want kids to get raped like everyone else. It's like, I don't know what else they can do. They've shown me every single day they can't go lower, 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 lower. But I've done enough research to know that these politicians and these media entities that cry foreign collusion have done 20 to 30 to 50 to 100 times more colluding with foreign countries than President Trump could ever dream or fathom of doing. And the only thing stopping people from realizing that is the media bubble that they have created, including Dianne Feinstein, who has amassed tens of millions of dollars through a way lower budget than that, and had a Chinese spy working with her for 20 years, and the media doesn't want to talk about it. So when it comes to foreign collusion, I'm going to go on to the next story that's very relevant. I'm not convinced that Mueller ever cared. I'm not convinced that Rosenstein ever cared. When it comes to the New York Times story, like the resistance, to be honest, I do want to see the proof. I don't care if it goes in the favor of Trump. I'm sick of these anonymous stories. Our source told us that this happened. Do you know how foolish that is? So I can just run a newspaper, I can go work for the Washington Post, and if they want the agenda to be, oh, well, someone's source told us that someone said that this is happening, and then you could publish a whole story and mislead millions of people off of a rumor that one person that you think might know somebody who knows somebody said. It's absolutely buffoon type reporting, and it does need to end. So even with the Rosenstein stuff, I say, show us the proof. And I think the FISA declassifications, when it's all said and done, just like the Strzok text and just like all the findings we had with what happened with Carter Page and all of that, it's going to be way uglier than the resistance wants to know. I think a lot of people who support the president already know this stuff. And I think the American people, regardless of resistance or right wing, deserve to see the truth, because I'm tired of this circus. I'm tired of this back and forth, arguing, bickering, making stuff up, crying, screeching, screaming, anonymous sources. Show us the facts, declassify everything so we can finally move on with our lives. That would be very nice. The next story